Welcome to another episode of the Intentional Intern Podcast. It's been a while since I last spoke to y'all. Like, a long time. How have y'all been? What's new? You know what? Maybe it's too late to say Happy New Year. Well, anyways, I know I've been gone, but I promise these next few episodes are worth the wait, just like this one. After all, this is the first Beyond the Resume episode in a while since we started a new segment, so I'm happy to get this next student and episode out to y'all. This week's interviewee is Blake Simmons. While Blake attends Georgia State University to earn his degree in biology to work in dentistry, he has a natural skill set for something else: photography. Blake's something special, and the simple way to describe that is this: whatever he sets his mind to, he'll do it not only to 110%, but 1010%. Whether that's capturing his future patients' attention during appointments by getting their smiles in order, or by capturing mesmerizing shots of creatives and fashion moments that he posts on his photography account. Throughout the episode, you'll notice off the bat that Blake is confident. He has a clear vision of who he is and what he can accomplish. In short, Blake isn't just aiming for the moon. He's going past the stars, past all the planets, and capturing the entire universe. So, if you have the chance to cross paths with Blake, trust me. The experience, work ethic, and dedication that Blake brings to his craft, professional career, and creative clients is second to none. His photography account will be linked in the show notes, so be sure to check it out. I hope you all enjoy the episode. Let's dive right in. Hi, Blake. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming onto the podcast today, and I can't wait for everyone to hear about your story and what you're currently working on in life.
Of course, I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate that. To start us off, I would love if you could share with our audience a little bit about you. So maybe a little bit about your major, some of your interests, or even a fun fact.
All right, yeah. So I'm a biology major. I'm in my fourth year. I plan to graduate December 2024. Something I'm doing right now is photography. I've been researching it. It's just something I've really liked. I've always been interested in it, and I've decided to make it a side career, main career if people really like my work enough for it to provide for me enough to be a main photographer. But I also would like to use my degree, and for things of that nature, I'm thinking of dental hygiene, which is part time. It's not something too much 2 years of school after I graduate, and I think it's something I could use to fund my, use to pay the bills. So I don't want photography to become like the main thing that's supplying me with all my bills, because then I think it kind of takes the fun out of it. And I kind of just want to make it, keep it as a fun little thing on the side that people cherish that like my work, but I also get paid for. So I can, have a part-time job that pays the bills that I can just focus on that, and then photography as my creative outlet. And, I also get a little money from that as well.
That's awesome. I like how you're very honest and transparent about what you want to do with your degree, but then also about your creativity and how photography feels that for you. And I think that's something important. I love having work-life balance, and it's even better when you know what makes you feel good, especially in that creative space. So I appreciate you sharing your interest in photography and what you're looking to do with it.
I will say one more thing too as well. It doesn't right now, dental hygiene is what I'm thinking about, but I'm not too set on it. Like I'm still like after I graduate, I'm gonna take like a year or two off just to figure out, just to see what happened in life. But right now, dental hygiene is what I'm planning on. But if there are other part-time jobs that I find or run into, then it'll be that. But I'm not too set on dental hygiene, but that is what the goal is currently.
Super dope. Now, what made you choose biology as well as dental hygiene and what you've kind of been circulating?
I chose biology because I've always been really strong in my math and science classes.
Mm.
History and English, I never really did well. I mean, English, I do like writing stories, and that's fun being creative. But when it was for a grade, I kind of wasn't really there. Um, History also wasn't really. It was cool learning it, but I don't know, it wasn't really my strong suit. But I wasn't really strong in math and sciences. I just learn sciences specifically because it's kind of learning about the world and the world that we're in, and also math is kind of like a puzzle. But I've also realized too when I took physics, you can use math to figure out how the world works as well. Just like random stuff like light, how light works, gravity, and all that stuff. But why I chose biology specifically, besides math and science being my strong point, is also because I came in wanting to be a veterinarian, And I think throughout my college career and, talking to other vets, researching what vets do and what they go through and how hard it is, or, just what vet life is like, I kind of determined that being a vet isn't necessarily what I wanted to do. Um, so those two things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what college is for, is to figure out what you want to do, but also what you don't want to do. And so that's very real to figure out, oh, I want to come in as this and then change your mind. And
hmm
what kind of steered you away from being a vet and then going into dental hygiene?
so the schooling was one thing. It was just kind of like, do I want to go through 4 years of school right after, doing these 4 years? And if it's like, and I talked to also a lot of other vets too, and they're like, if veterinary science is like not something like you really want to do and you have a real passion for it, you shouldn't do it because it is a lot of hard work. Like people expect you to perform magic. Also not all pets survive. There's a lot
Mm.
of mental health issues, and I think they have one of the highest suicide rates as well.
Oh, wow.
Especially, I talked to one specific black veterinarian. It's like it's kind of hard for us as well. It's a hard job, and I feel like I didn't have enough passion for it. It's kind of just like something like out of high school, just like, yeah, I like animals. I can do this. It wasn't like something I really had a passion for. And I think after researching, it was kind of like, if it's not something you really, really want to do, I think they were like, you should just look at some other things. That's another thing too, of being a vet. I'd have to like really like get gritty with it, like do surgeries, take blood, needles, all that stuff. And I was like, can I really handle that? And I don't think I can. So, that kind of ruled out dentistry. But dental hygiene, it's nothing too bad. All I have to do is like go in and clean someone's teeth. There's also a somewhat sort of a social aspect.
So let's get
To,
into that photography piece. I think you've definitely talked and been a lot more thorough in your research, especially of what it sounds like, of really what you want to do. And you've explored a lot of your options and you've looked into them. You've talked to people as well as done your own due diligence about what would essentially be your main thing while your creative outlet is photography. When
Mhm.
did you find photography and then what made you want to keep going with that?
so I'd say, I guess I started somewhat in high school. After high school, coming to college, I really liked the process of like putting together an outfit, taking pictures, then posting it and all that stuff, and getting all the love and the praise of just like how good the pictures are, or whatever. Just like this support system. And then I started to want to model, and I started that last fall semester. And then through modeling, I kind of realized, because I kind of wanted to do modeling more for the money and just kind of like a side hustle instead of a passion. But then I realized that if I was a photographer, I can still have all that creative processes and be more in control of the creative process instead of like being a model. You kind of just like, definitely can like creatively express yourself as a model, but it's kind of more of like, at least the program I was in was Runway, and Runway kind of felt like you're just kind of like a puppet, if that makes sense. But like if I was a photographer, I'd be able to still have the same creative process, but be more in control of it and how, what creative things I want to do and who I choose to be a model and what they wear and all that stuff. But also money wise too, because modeling is fun, but I also think about I have to be realistic and like if I can actually like support myself being a model. And I thought photography also has, I feel like, more ways to make money with photography. It's like I can do creative stuff, but I can also do like food photography, or what's it called, real estate photography. There's a lot of different avenues for photography to make money with, besides just creative and like portrait stuff. Um, but I'd also say, well, when I really started getting into photography was, my cousin gave my sister a camera, sometime in high school, probably my junior year. Um, and then I ended up taking it from her because she never used it. So I would always just play around with it, have different photo shoots with my friends, just play around with it. I'd be the guy with the camera. I just started shooting, and then I really liked it. And then, like I said, so starting last spring semester, I really started researching into how to make money with photography, learning all the settings, learning all this stuff, researching everything about photography that I think I should know if I really wanted to take it seriously. And then I did, and then this summer, I bought all my equipment. I bought more photography stuff, studio lights, backdrops, all that stuff. And I just started working. I did free shoots. I did shoots with friends, experimenting, working with settings, different things that worked, things that didn't work. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I like the social aspect of like just like, being creative, and then, people liking the creative and be willing to pay for it and they be happy for it is also a really fun thing as well. And I really like the social aspect too because it's kind of like networking at the same point, because you take pictures of all these different people. You never know who they are, what they can do for you. And just like, who knows, I might end up, taking pictures of like a dental hygienist, and I'll be able to talk to them about how their work-life balance and how they are, and what they do for a living. I think it's just a cool balance of just a lot of everything.
Yeah, it does. And it seems like you have a very big correlation from even being a dental hygienist to photography, which is like the social aspect of both
Hmm.
of those careers and both of those things. And so I wanted to kind of ask a little bit more of where that came from. Are you like a social butterfly? How does that social aspect like work for you that it is seemingly a core value in what you choose to essentially spend your time on, whether it's a career in dental hygiene or like an off career in photography?
That is a good question. I'm kind of, if I had to use the term introvert and extrovert, I feel like they're kind of a little bit too strict, but I would say I'm kind of an introverted extrovert. I kind of have like a small social battery, and talking to people when I'm not in the mood is kind of a hard thing. But also, I really one of my favorite things on this earth is like talking to new people and getting new perspectives, and because you never know what people can offer, or just getting to know people is a really really cool thing in my opinion. Just being able to talk and be social is cool, but I just don't always have the energy to do so. But I feel like in my job, I kind of feel like I would need to have some sort of social aspect. Like obviously, I don't think I could be in a job where I'm constantly talking to people, like sales, for example.
Mm.
But I also like deciding what job I wanted out of high school. I knew that I couldn't be in a cubicle, like just typing away my life and not really talking to anyone. I kind of need some type of social aspect in my career because I feel like if it's not my career, it'd be kind of hard for me to get out there by myself. But if I had it as just like of a side thing in my career, it would just help that be a part of my life without me having to like force myself to go out, if that makes sense. But I feel like being social and talking to new people, talking to the same people, is something I don't really do as much as I want to. So having it in my career to an extent, I think is something that's really important to me.
Yeah, and that shows. I mean, you know who you are and you know at the core of what you like and what you dislike and what avenues are eventually going to work for you before you even knew like exactly what those were going to be, which it kind of goes back to who you are as a person. And I wanted to ask if there are any like defining points in your life that you feel like have kind of directed you towards like what you kind of, what's the word, kind of garner towards, like things that you just naturally attract to yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Of things that you're just naturally interested in. And you always say, like, oh, these are things that I've been interested in since I was a little kid. Or these are like things that give me the same feelings of things that I've been interested in since I was a little kid. Do you think there are certain things like from your childhood that you enjoyed that could have led to what you are choosing to enjoy now, or things that you were choosing to kind of put your interest in towards now? And it's okay
Um,
to say no.
yeah, no, that's an interesting question. Um, if I think about it, in terms of dental hygiene and biology, I mean, I would just say math and science are always my strong suit. And I've always liked learning about how the world works, how our bodies work, and all that stuff. And math, like puzzles, I always like figuring out puzzles. I've always liked doing puzzles as a kid. I always like strategy games and all that stuff. So it makes sense that I like math and science. In terms of photography, I would say that I've always been kind of creative, and I guess the creative avenue I took before photography and fashion, I guess, or social media, I would say is music. Um, I always, as a kid, I had a play drum kit as a kid, and then in middle school and high school, I joined band as a percussionist. And I
Hmm.
always loved drums and I like the creativity of drums. And I feel like I also did marching band as well. And it was always, I'll say this too, I've noticed too that I always like being a part of a team.
Hmm.
Whether that's from, I played lacrosse in high school, I did marching band, I did, band in general. I was in some other curriculars as well that just, made you be a part of a team. And I've always liked that aspect. And also like being in bands, I've also was in a couple bands as well. Through the school, having a guitarist, a pianist, a drummer, and everyone plays their role. Everyone does their thing, and a creative aspect as well. So I guess if I didn't find photography or anything else, I think my the creative aspect I would have liked to do, like dream job, I guess, would have been like being a drummer because you can be creative with that and it's cool. If it wasn't photography, I guess it would be a drummer. But also being photography as well, I want to eventually work with like big brands and like right now it's kind of like as a sole photographer, like you're doing everything. Like you're the stylist, you're the creative director, you're the photographer, the editor, you're the publicist. Like when I'm able to work with big brands and I'm able to just do my role as a photographer and editor and I get to work with, different stylists, different models, different like big name brands, I think that'll also be fun being able to work with a team, but not having the stress of like having every having to do every role and just doing my role and my part for the bigger picture of everyone, and we all just get together and create good things.
Totally. I totally get that. And I actually wanted to ask something, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit more, kind of segueing into like your dreams. So, like your next moves, essentially, right? And I want you to think, in this case of how I'm asking it, to think limitless. So, think about if you could do just literally whatever you like in a perfect world, and working with the big brands, whether it's in photography or even if you want to still continue on the biological route with like being a dental hygienist, or however you would see your life play out in a perfect world. What are some of the goals that you think you would want to reach? Like, do you want to work with a specific company? Is there a certain like marketing campaign or something that you like to like be a photographer for a dental hygiene company? What are some of the big goals or just things that you have put in the air for yourself of things that you are looking to strive towards?
I would say before this last spring semester, I would have had no idea. I was really struggling trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life and what life path I wanted to choose, whether that's, degree wise or just like passion wise. And I
Mm-hmm.
think once I found photography, it has become my main passion and what I want to do in life. So in terms of like future, like limitless, I would say just being like, worldwide known photographer,
Mm.
just based off of like my personal style, my personal edits, and how I personally do things. And I would like to work with big brands. I don't really have like a goal of the brands I want to work with yet. Um, but like just of course, like anyone wants to work with Nike, anyone wants to work with like any like fashion brands. I mean, of course, I guess I would like to work with fashion like directly in terms of like,
Mm.
big fashion artists like Dolce and Gabbana, like independent, like fashion people that are in fashion that have their stuff ran in walk shows in Paris or London or New York Fashion Week or London Fashion Week or stuff like that. I feel like if I was able to work with big name brand designers like that, um, like Rick Owens or something like that, I feel like that's kind of the goal I'm getting towards right now because I really like fashion as well, and I think with photography I can bring in my love for fashion as well.
Yeah, those go hand
Yeah.
in hand, fashion and
hmm
photography. And I heard you talk a little bit about your personal style and what you want to be well known for. How do you feel like your personal style is developing right now? Do you think you could explain a little bit more or elaborate on what you would want your personal style to be known as, or what do you personally know it as?
Okay. So yeah, I'd say for a little bit of background, at least being at GSU and surrounded by a lot of creatives, I knew a lot of people that started at photography as a freshman or were already photographers as a freshman, and by now I've seen how far they've come. So I didn't want to be a photographer that like did the same thing that everyone else does. I also took graphic design in high school my last 2 years, so I had a background in Illustrator and Photoshop. So the way I would say I kind of mix my photography is kind of with a little bit of graphic design. Like I'm not only doing photography, I'm mixing in Photoshop. Eventually, I'm going to mix in 3D rendering with my photos. So I guess I'm a little bit more than a photographer. I'm also kind of also implementing a little bit of graphic design. I would say also I work with colors a lot. I really like one of the things I researched in photography was color theory. I really like how colors, color theories. I like colors. I like colors a lot, and what they represent. So I would say I mix my photography with a little bit of grunge maybe, but I mean, honestly, my style is ever changing. I realize too, like the stuff I've wanted to produce when I first started has drastically changed from what I produce now and what I want to produce later. And I think it'll continue to change until I find my style. And I think my style, throughout my life, I think my style will change. Um, but I would say like graphic design a little bit with Photoshop and other things of that nature, implement it with it in colors. Definitely implement my and fashion. I would say are kind of what I guess would be my style. I would say, but it's ever changing. But that's where I'm at right now.
Totally. And you are a really big creator. Like it seems like we've gone from photography to fashion to Photoshop to creative design or graphic design. It seems like you're working with a lot of multimedia and you are looking to get a little bit further in those, especially when you go down your career, whether that's with fashion and photography intertwined or just in photography, no matter the avenue that you take with photography. You do seem like a very creative spirit.
I would definitely say so. And I definitely thought at first it was with modeling, but then I went into and honestly going back to that other question. I wouldn't mind modeling for big name brands either, doing print for like a
Mhm.
dream job, being both a model and a photographer. That's another reason also why I became a photographer is because modeling and photography go hand in hand. If I'm in a room full of models, I can market myself as a photographer. If I'm in a room full of photographers, I can also market myself as a model. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But I definitely would say I was a creative person, whether it was through music or Photoshop or photography, fashion, or any of that stuff.
Yeah, you have a lot of duality, it sounds like. And so you can definitely switch in between roles, which also expands your avenues that you can go down. And I want to ask, do you have any aspirations or people actually who were like your motivators? What were your inspirations into your style or how you do things now?
Um, I would definitely say um, photographers in my circle that I knew. I couldn't name all of them, but I knew a lot of photographers, not directly, but just through the grapevine of GSU because at GSU freshman year it was kind of only freshmen and seniors, so it was kind of like high school V2. So you got to know a lot of people and you get to know who a lot of people are, and I got to see a lot of photographers like do their work, and I was first inspired by them, but then the more I got to photography and created my photography account through Instagram, I found a lot more photographers that like broadened my horizons of what the photography I wanted to get into. Because at first it was kind of basic a little bit. Then the
Mm-hmm.
more I dwelled into like actually researching different photographers and their work styles and their types of photography, the more it inspired me in different ways. But I think ultimately I kind of intertwine all of the photographers that I take inspiration from and kind
Mm-hmm.
of implement all of that together and then make it my own style as well. So it just kind of is a lot of different photographers. Ones that I've known personally to now more of the ones that I kind of popular known for their style and they kind of do things a little bit differently in terms of the way they edit them or how they shoot or how they do their certain things.
Yeah, I totally see that. What are some of the most important things that you feel as a photographer are necessary to create the best shot or to get the best pictures, in your personal opinion?
Good question. I would say composition is important. Definitely. I'm kind of still learning how to do composition right now. I'm kind of, I take a lot of pictures and then I kind of edit it down. I have a vision. I'm kind of working on how to implement my vision efficiently, and how to cut down on time of being able to shoot how I want to shoot, what I want to shoot in a short amount of time because now, I kind of take my time with it and I'm able to get what I want, but I would like to be able to efficiently get what I want in a shorter amount of time. I would
Mhm.
also say what my models wear is also important.
Hmm.
Because I right now as well, I'm trying to collab with a lot of brands at GSU. Because like I said, I would like to work with big brands. I would
Yeah.
like to work with a lot of fashion. I like to work with a lot of fashion designers. So I think what they wear is important, and being able to collab with fashion designers and other fashion designers who like their work can see the photography and they'd be like, okay, I like how he made their designs look. I want to shoot with him as well. So what they wear is important. Color theory as well, in terms of like the color of the backdrop and what the model is wearing. Also, I think it's really important for me is personality in the model that I'm shooting as well. I don't like to I don't like to reuse poses. I don't like to come in with a certain like way of what I want them to do. I mean, I have a general vibe that I want, but ultimately I think it's really important that my model comes with their own personality. Like with their poses, I like to let them use what poses they want to use. 'Cause I think you can really capture a lot of emotion and personality in photography, and I really like to capture that in my subjects as well.
Yeah. It sounds like you are very fluid with your work. It seems very like you are saying, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do this. And like, not in a bad way of like, oh, I would never, but in a way of, I want to challenge myself in order to create something new that I haven't necessarily done before with the same
Mhm,
resources that I'm using as a photographer, which I think is a really good skill to have.
mhm. Thank you.
Of course, you seem very open to a ton of possibilities. And it seems like you're also very versatile in what you want to do, but also what you want to create, which I think will be a huge asset to you and a huge opportunity to other companies or even fashion brands and other employers who could look for skills like that, because those are very good skills that are sought after a lot.
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely a very open-minded person. I've never liked being closed-minded. I'm always open to a lot of different things. And even that includes what I shoot, who I work with, and all that thing, all that, you know, all that things.
Hmm. And so I want to ask, we talked a little bit about fashion, and you mentioned it is important, or one of the things that's important to you is what your models wear. I want to ask about your personal style of fashion. So, can you give me some things that you feel are underrated in fashion right now, currently? Some things that you feel could be the next trends, some things that should be the next trends, in your opinion? What to you is cool in the fashion world?
That's a good question. I've always thought about if someone random, a lot of social media people come up and they ask people like, what's a big trend in fashion that you hate or that you like? I'm honestly not really too in tune with like global fashion, if that makes sense. I kind of
Hmm.
just see things and I like them. I would say though, I like more things that are different. Like if an outfit is like, man, I don't know what he has on, but it kind of goes together and I kind of like it. Like that, I like that. It's just like, working with different things, different materials, different textures, different colors, and creating something that's not necessarily like the wave. I kind of like that. Me personally, I kind of get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. So I
Hmm.
like when people really challenge themselves and, fashion standards and like create something different.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. I think fashion is so unique in terms of the realm
Hmm.
of how it can be appreciated, but also how subjective fashion can be. It's so
Yeah.
subjective yet objective at the same time. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I hear when people are like, "Oh, fashion, this is so camp." And I have to like look at my brain and be like, "Okay, what's camp mean right
Yeah,
now?"
I don't know what that means. I'm not even gonna lie.
So yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from in the unconventional being your
Yeah.
conventional and how that ties into your personal style. And it's very reflective over your core values of who you are, but also in the work that you want to create, which is a really big tie-in.
Hmm.
I want to get a little bit into some of your specific goals that or standards that you might hold yourself to right now. And what I mean by that is what are some of your typical do's and don'ts when you're looking at the things that you want to do? So I know earlier you talked about you don't want to be in a cubicle and you've known that since high school, as well as some other things that you kind of have as standard practices that you kind of live by of, oh, if this doesn't make me happy or if this isn't doing this, then it's automatically something that you don't want to do. In this
Hmm.
case, for when it comes to photography and things like that or creative mediums, what are some of those like daily practices that you hold yourself to in order to get better?
Um, One of those things is challenging myself, not being afraid to work with different things. Like, for example, I recently did an event for a family friend, and I was like, I've never done an event before. It's not really something I want to get into. But, as a photographer, you have to challenge yourself because the skills you learn there, um, that can they can implement themselves into, studio photography or portrait photography. Um, but also, it doesn't hurt to, like I said, I like to be versatile. You never know what people need from you or what you can do. It's like, what if, for example, Nike invites me, I do a shoot with Nike, but then they want me to do an event. I want to be able to do that event. So you have to really try new things and not be afraid to hop into things you're not used to as a photographer. And that's just in general in life as well. You can't be scared. There's a quote, do it scared. Don't do it not at all. Do it scared if anything.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Another thing is also being open-minded, just in general, not being like, yeah, I definitely don't want to do this. I'm still open to a lot of things. And if I don't like it, I don't like it, but I'll at least try it and I'll still be open to it. I don't immediately shut anything down. Um, Other standards. Um, Being nice to people. In this world, there's a lot of hate, and there's more hate than is needed. I always try my best to be nice to everyone because you never know what they're going through and how you can impact some people's lives. And I think also with photography, that's another reason why I do it as well. You never know how happy someone can get just from having a photo shoot with you, whether that's graduation, a baby shower, anything of that nature. Just like, they put a good outfit together, they want good photos, and you're able to do that for them and they get happy, they love the pictures. And that's also a nice, rewarding thing as well. It's another thing too with dental hygiene as well. You're able to clean people's teeth and make them feel happy about how their teeth look and not, let them be insecure about how their teeth look as well. Um, And so being able to positively impact people's lives is another big thing in the standard of my life. I hate being someone that makes someone's life worse, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. When there's always an opportunity to make someone's life better, even if it's the smallest thing, we can never ever really recognize how much that might measure up for them or how much that really impacted them to where for some people that could have made their entire day. So
Mm.
I totally get that. I have a weird question, but I think it's something that could be interesting. Do you think that your love for your creative aspects and prospects will ever cross over with your biology or dental hygiene career? Do you ever see that ever happening or any type of project surrounding that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know of a photographer that specifically liked photography and um, not chemistry, but biology, and she has a job of just like taking pictures of really small animals in different colors and like using an electron microscope and or I guess color microscope. I'm forgetting the terminology for it, but she would use photography with micro like really micro photography and really take pictures of like really small bacteria and really small viruses and things of that nature. And I thought that was cool. And you know, that's something that I could get into, but I also know as well in dental hygiene, they have to usually take pictures of their teeth to see how they progress. So that is one way that I can implement themselves into both. Um, Also, technically, I guess it's in this realm, but headshots as well, professional headshots. You know, people that I work with, everyone's going to need headshots at some point in time. So, you know, being able to be someone that can provide headshots for people in, you know, my industry as well is something that I can also do. Um, yeah, but
Yeah.
I also will say, sorry, I will say too, kind of going really far back to it. One of the standards of like things that I knew I wanted to do and didn't want to do about like a job. I wanted my job to somehow be able to help people. All of my jobs that I've had since high school, I know one of the important things I wanted to do was be able to help someone. And that started with, you know, being a therapist, being a firefighter, being a cop, being a teacher. Honestly, if teachers got paid more, I would be a teacher, but the fact is they just don't get paid enough. And I really respect all the
Yeah.
teachers that I've had.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say a strong core in whatever I do in my life, I want to be able to help people and help people get through things that they can't normally get through by themselves. I've always liked just helping people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. And it seems like that's also another consistent core value that you have of just having something that creates a positive impact. And to reiterate what you were talking about of with the teachers, I thoroughly feel like teachers should be paid more. It's not even an if, it's they
Yeah,
should.
very true.
My mom used to be a teacher, so I totally understand how much work and dedication it takes to
Hmm.
effectively teach students what they need to learn in a subject, but also make sure that they take it with them because education is the foundation of what we end up utilizing within
Hmm.
our world, right? I mean, that's probably why we're all in college right now is to learn more stuff in order to get into the careers that we're passionate about and even the fundamentals of people wanting to learn. So even on the
Hmm.
topic of photography, of you wanting to learn that and having those baseline teachings of where to go, how you could figure it out, what are some things that you want for yourself in photography. I mean, I totally understand that. And also, I didn't even think about taking pictures of teeth as a dental hygienist.
Hmm.
Those literally cross over right there. I totally forgot
Yeah.
about those times as a kid, or not even just as a kid, but as an adult, where they would put you in the x ray machines and they would tell you to hold still. And sometimes you have to bite down on stuff, or you like have to take off your earrings or things like that. And they would have to take pictures of your teeth in order to get like a more accurate picture of what your teeth look like, whatever the procedure was going to be. So that's a
Hmm.
really great call out that I did not even think of.
Yeah. And I would also say for teachers too, it's not even just teaching students. You have to kind of be a mentor for students. You have to be able to kind of like give them insight, not even just on school subjects, but also life in certain times as well. And also, like you take your work home. It's not just like you go to school and you teach the kids from 7 to 3 and that's it. You have to take your work home. You have to make lesson plans. You have to do all that stuff out. You have to grade quizzes like outside of your scheduled time to go into school. There's a lot of stuff to do. You have to do outside of actually going to school as well,
Yeah.
which is why I think it should definitely be paid a lot more than they are right now.
I have kind of a leading question off of that. So, thinking of yourself within that teacher role a little bit, or like that advice for anybody who were looking to go into, let's say, biology, or looking into being a dental hygienist, or looking into becoming a photographer, what are some of the lessons or advice or tips and tricks that you would give after going through your process of learning these things or going through these things and exploring these careers?
I will say for dental hygiene, I can't offer much because I'm not a dental hygienist yet.
Yep.
But I will say, research it. Just research it and, watch YouTube videos of day in the life of a dental hygienist. Research what schooling is like. Research all of that because to be a dental hygienist, you also don't have to get a 4-year degree before it. A dental hygienist only requires an associate's degree, and you can get that right out of high school. I didn't know about um, that career choice until now. But I'm glad I went to GSU because I would have never been a photographer and met all my friends. But definitely research it. In terms of a biology degree, it's hard. Like it's hard. It's one of the degrees like you hear bio degree and you're like, oof, I pray for you. It's a lot of hard classes. If it's a lot of math and science classes. If you don't like science, I might choose a different degree, but I mean it's up to you. You have to study. When I came in, I guess it was COVID, so I was kind of different. But my study habits weren't the best. My grades weren't the best. But once I found a good study routine, which you will need if you want to have good grades. Some people have the mentality of C's get degrees. I had that at one point, but then, once I decided I wanted to go to school outside of my 4 degree, and just like, I don't know, the GPA number just kind of like, it always haunted me. So I always wanted to get better grades. And to do that, you have to actively study. You can't just go to class and not study and then expect to get good grades. You have to spend time outside of class to get good grades. You have to put in the work if you want good grades. Now, if you don't want good grades, then you can just do what I said and just go to class and get whatever. But if you want to get good grades, you have to study. It's not a you can't you're not taking classes where you can just go to class, not study and get good grades. You have to put time and effort in outside of that with an effective study plan to get good grades.
Yeah.
And in terms of photography, I would say just research it, look at different photographers, different types of photography, whether that's real estate, food, product, all of those. And also, you have to have a camera. You don't need the best camera. You can even start with your phone and just take a picture of your phone and, messing around with Lightroom, which is what I use. I use Adobe products. You use Lightroom to edit your photos. You can also use different mediums too. I mean, you can use 3D rendering with Adobe. I'm blanking on the name, but you can get into 3D photography. You do a lot of different things. I think just try everything, research everything. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Just really try things and also talk to other photographers. I know I interviewed a lot of photographers. I can't say a lot. I interviewed one photographer. I want to interview more. But I liked her work and I interviewed her work and how her workflow was and what lessons she learned from it early on that I should look out for and implement before I have to worry about it. Just that's no hygiene too. Whatever you want to do, talk to people in the profession, research it, and just see if you can really put yourself in their shoes and really enjoy it. Um, yeah.
Is there any advice that you would have given to yourself now being a fourth year student at Georgia State? What advice would you give to your freshman yourself looking back?
Uh, I will say freshman year, mental health was a big problem. I
Hmm.
guess COVID did factor into that. So I would say everything's gonna be okay. You should definitely pay more attention to your mental health. Don't ignore it because it will pop up in ways you don't think, and it will affect a lot of your life. And you should really pay attention to your mental health. Um, Mental health is important, especially for young Black men, and that's just anyone in general. Um, but also in terms of schooling, just do it. I feel like a lot of my grades before recently I never got, if I did the assignment, I never got to see a lot of my problems with the grades were me procrastinating to the point of me forgetting to turn it in. So like if I turned in an assignment, I was gonna get an A or a B, but if I would just procrastinate to the point of like missing the assignment or things of that nature. So procrastination is also a big thing. I still struggle with that very much. I think that's something I would have liked to look into freshman year, so I could have already been
Mm.
accommodated with that
Yeah.
then instead of figuring that out now. which I still need to really get into. It's just a long and lengthy process, and I keep procrastinating doing that as well. So, I need to get better at that now as well. But I'd say mental health um, and procrastination are two pretty big things. I would, advise myself as a freshman
Yeah.
for sure.
What are some things to kind of wrap us all up in all the things that we've talked about around like your core values and being open-minded, as well as your creative outlets, your versatility, whether that's in biology and going down that path of being a dental hygienist, or whether it's with photography and all of those aspects and avenues that come with it? What are some things that you're excited for in the future? And that could even go down biology and dental hygiene or photography, like I said, but also some personal things in your life like graduation, or some things that you're just looking forward to within the upcoming weeks or upcoming months?
Um, Good question. I would definitely say graduation is one. I envy everyone that doesn't have to worry about assignments due weekly and all of that. But I also realize that it's a privilege to be in college, so I'm not too mad about that. But to be able to graduate and see all my work pay off in the last 18 plus 4 years, 22 years, and be able to graduate and walk across the platform would be really nice. Especially considering I graduated in 2020 during COVID, so I never got to walk across the stage for high school. I feel
Yeah.
like walking across the college walkway will be, a nice little thing to look forward to, and will kind of be like an ending ceremony of all the hard work I put into in schooling. Whether or not I go back, that's for the future. Um, but that would be really nice. Another thing too, being able to, I guess it ties in with graduation, is being able to kind of focus on other things besides weekly assignments due for classes that I'm not necessarily interested in, like fully. And I'm able to only focus on things that I really want to do. I'm really excited for that. Um, I'm also really excited to see my hard work in photography pay off too. I feel like I put in a lot of work with that. So to be able to see my work pay off, soon, whether that's, getting a brand deal with Nike or with Rick Owens or whoever, whatever, and seeing that, seeing my reach go up, whether that's my Instagram following or just the people that I see that, hit me up that likes my work. I get people that see me on campus or like, DM me that just like they really like my work. I'm like, that's really nice, and it's nice to see my work get paid off.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess yeah, I'm ready for being able to solely focus on what I want to focus on, um, and seeing all my hard work pay off, and just see where I go in life, wherever that may be.
That next step.
Hmm.
And to assist you in the next step, I want to kind of end us off on this really good note where you can voice that of what are some supports or some resources or some things that you feel like for anyone listening out there who could support you, what are some things that you feel will help you excel in your future to come?
Um, like I said, I had previously interviewed some veterinarians and I've interviewed some photographers as well. So I think it would be really cool if I was able to, sit down and, interview or just have even a conversation about photographers or dental hygienists or people that have part-time jobs outside of dental hygiene or part-time jobs outside of photography, and how their work-life balance is, and how happy they are with their career and what they're doing. To be able to form specific questions based off the specific person I'm interviewing would be really nice. And I feel like, I could gain a lot of insight from people that have done it before me and learn from their mistakes and learn from their achievements and what they've done well. So just to be able to talk with people of like-minded individuals.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast again today. You've given so much valuable insight into who you are, what you want to do, and what we can expect to come from you in the future. And all I can really say is thank you. And I'm so appreciative for that.
Of course, and I appreciate you having me. I'm sure this will be great for the both of us.
Definitely.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Intentional Intern Podcast. I'll see you guys next week with another student and how they're looking to make their success and their way in the world. Have a good one.